Welcome to Pulse Check, where we have quick conversations about how to help people across Alabama live healthier lives. When we think about health, we often think about our physical well-being, but when we think about health, we often think about our physical well-being, but financial well. Welcome to Pulse Check, where we have quick conversations about how to help people across Alabama live healthier lives. When we think about health, we often think about our physical health, but financial wellness plays a major role in our overall health too. Financial stress can impact everything from our sleep and relationships to our mental and physical health. Today's guest is someone who plays a critical role in protecting people across Alabama from financial fraud and helping preserve our trust in our financial systems. Amanda Sin serves as director of the Alabama Securities Commission, where she advises on securities-related matters and leads efforts to investigate and prosecute fraudulent activity involving investments and financial schemes across the state. Her work is focused on one core mission: protecting investors and helping ensure people have the tools and knowledge they need to make safe financial decisions. A big part of that includes education, awareness, and especially when it comes to helping individuals recognize and avoid scams before they happen. What I really appreciate about this conversation is how practical and relevant it is. Director Sin's work ultimately impacts everyday people, families, retirees, and anyone trying to make smart financial choices in a world where scams are becoming more sophisticated. I'm glad to have her here today to help us better understand how to protect ourselves and our communities. Welcome, Director Sin.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So when you think about financial fraud in Alabama, what are the most common scams people are falling victim to right now?
The most common scams that people in Alabama are falling for now involve the use of artificial intelligence and or cryptocurrency like Bitcoin.
Well, what are some warning signs that somebody might be dealing with a scam or fraudulent investment? I mentioned earlier they're becoming so sophisticated. How can you guard yourself?
So I mentioned artificial intelligence and or cryptocurrency as being the primary types of schemes that we're seeing. But those are just the mechanisms for the fraudsters. So frauds are being pulled from every aspect of life. You could rip something off the front page of the newspaper. You could have recently visited a concert or been to a physician's office and had your cell phone with you, and fraudsters know exactly where you've been through that technology. So frauds are everywhere now, and it's not just the romance schemes that we used to see or the Nigerian prince overseas. The fraudsters have gotten so sophisticated because of artificial intelligence, which is basically computer enhanced programs that allow them to pull massive amounts of information from social media accounts and target specific populations and genders and people with certain interests so easily. The scams we've seen in Alabama affect everybody. There's no correlation between intelligence and victimization. And so anybody and everybody can be a victim of a scam.
Absolutely. And I think people don't think about the fact that for them it's a numbers game. They'll call 1,000 people, they'll email 10,000 people. And so it's gonna be right for somebody. It's
It,
gonna resonate with someone.
it is a numbers game. And with artificial intelligence and these new technological advancements, fraudsters can now target thousands of people at once, as opposed to even a year ago when you would think a fraudster is sitting in a crime ring in a warehouse overseas, specifically reaching out to individuals that may have had been victim of a data breach. For example, I won't call out by names, but we are all users of email addresses, Yahoo, Gmail. There have been data breaches associated with email accounts in the past, so fraudsters have that information. Before artificial intelligence, it would require them to do a little extra work to get to certain victims. But with AI, they can program a piece of intelligence to say, hey, I want to target XYZ bank customers that live in this area. And so thousands of people are coming in at once. So it is a numbers game, but the odds are going up that you'll be hit by a scam now.
So research used to slow them down a little, but now with AI augmented research, they're able to go faster than ever before.
AI is certainly a game changer when it comes to fraud and scams, especially in Alabama. This is a matter of fact, last year alone, we received over 650 reports just from our financial institutions. That was an over 150% increase from the prior year. And we could track it uh, along with the developments in artificial intelligence. Now, artificial intelligence can certainly provide many useful tools, and it has lots of benefits, but the fraudsters know those benefits. And like every evil, crooked con artist, they're going to turn those uses for evil instead of using them for the good that they're developed and intended for.
Wow. Well, we've talked about how warning signs, what you might notice. You guys have an email people can sign up for. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
We sure do. Now we have, let's do that again because I didn't repeat the question. And sorry if I get on, there's just like, and if you want to re ask the first one about AI, and I don't know if we could go back to that one, crypto, I wanted to say I could develop that a little more, but I don't want to attack AI. It's just that they're proliferate now with AI. So if you want to re ask that first one and then, or whatever you think.
All right.
But,
Yeah, let me go up. Let's see.
and then I'll,
Sounds good. Buck, we're going to take it from the top. So, when you think about financial fraud in Alabama, what are the most common scams that people are falling victim to right now?
the most common scams involve the use of artificial intelligence and or cryptocurrency, like Bitcoin. But they're not the same scams that we probably recognized a few years ago that involve a Nigerian prince or a lottery or that type thing. But AI has allowed fraudsters to root scams in every aspect of our lives and in every interaction that we have. So we're seeing frauds that involve people's relationships with their banks or their financial advisor or their physician. If they go to a concert or attend an event and they have their cell phone, fraudsters have that information. And so they're perpetrating scams that are related to real life events and actual relationships with people that you know in your community. It's just hard to trust any form of communication or text message that you receive now on your cell phone or phone calls because AI has increased the level of sophistication to the point where many experts have a hard time discerning what's real and what's not.
And they are able to make it more personal than ever before.
They're able to make it more personal, more specifically tailored to the victim because they now have tools that allow them to pull massive amounts of information from the internet. And everybody's on social media these days. So with just a few clicks of a program that fraudsters have access to, just like we do, they can gather all of your data and create a perfect victim profile and then hit thousands of people at once, as opposed to one or two, before these advancements in technology.
Wow. So the research part that used to maybe slow them down a little, AI is able to augment that so they can go faster than ever before.
AI is not only able to augment the types of scams, it's able to polish them and give them an appearance of legitimacy that is unparalleled in our times. For example, 2 years ago, our words of caution here at the commission were if there was a typo or syntax was off, it's probably a scam. Now with artificial intelligence, just like we use some of these programs like ChatGPT to create perfectly polished sentences, well, the fraudsters do the same thing and take advantage of those same programs. They actually have subscriptions to dark web applications, Fraud GPT and Worm GPT, and they can program it to say things that are perfectly polished and appear incredibly legitimate and based on actual relationships with people in our lives or professional relationships with businesses. So now our words of caution are if it's too polished or it sounds too perfect, it may be fraud. You just can't win these days. You have to be careful.
Well, one way that I think you guys have tried to help people across Alabama win is the Alabama Securities Commission has an email that people can sign up to receive alerts to keep us informed of the latest things, what's going on, and how to protect yourself. Can you talk about the email?
Yeah, the Alabama Securities Commission, because we receive so many reports from our businesses, mostly our financial institutions, and of course the public, we wanted to share this information with Alabamians. And so we created a financial exploitation newsletter. In the newsletter, we provide usually some resources on the front page. And then the next two pages, we literally provide actual case examples that we're seeing almost in real time. We publish these pretty frequently. So people can read the names are changed, of course, but read the scenario and know what's out there in terms of what we're seeing with fraud. There's a link to our website if you want to subscribe to our newsletter. And we also have text messages to your phone, 211-KNOW, KNOW, 211-KNOW will allow you to get text messages to your phone. Let me do that part again because you have to text the 828 to subscribe. Hold on, let me tape it. They just gave me the number. And this one, the second one, is specific to the She Can program and other resources. So if you want to ask the question again, I can start over, but I forgot to, you have to send this to this other number.
Okay.
Yeah.
So speaking about ways that Alabamians can protect themselves, the Alabama Securities Commission has an amazing newsletter that people can sign up for so that they know what is a popular scam right now, what's happening. Can you tell us a little bit more about that newsletter, the weekly newsletter, and then how often? Well, now I have to start over.
Sorry.
No, you're good. Because then I thought I don't know that it's weekly.
No, so we have a quarterly financial exploitation newsletter.
Gotcha. Okay.
And we have a lot, lots of subscribers there, so we can add people to the email list. And then more recently, the She Can and other resources for women and men, I'll add. We have the text program now, so you can send a text message and we'll send those out, not too frequently. We don't want to inundate people, but I think it may be almost a weekly notice. Or,
well, I'm going to tell you from the top because as soon as I said it, I said you shouldn't have said weekly because you don't know that it's weekly. So
yeah,
I'm going to start over.
That sounds good.
So when we talk about ways that people across Alabama can get better informed and get educated about fraud, the Alabama Securities Commission has a newsletter. Can you tell us more about that people can sign up for, prepare themselves? Talk about that.
The Alabama Securities Commission developed a newsletter in response to questions and demand from the public. They wanted to know what we're seeing. Since we receive reports, thousands of reports from financial institutions and members of the public about the frauds, we created a newsletter to include actual examples of the scams that we're seeing. And we also offer tips and other resources in the newsletter. So if members of the public can sign up for this, there's a link on the front page of our website. We issue the newsletter quarterly, and occasionally we'll email out other tips and things. If we're seeing a major scam, we'll alert the public that way. For example, I know recently people were going to the beach and they're receiving toll booth, fraudulent messages about tickets and fines and fees. We also have, for our She Can program, and guys are free to sign up as well, a text message alert that provides some resources about financial tips, health and well-being. And if you text 211-KNOW, 211-KNOW to the number 828, we also have a text message that's not limited to women, but it is part of our She Can program. Men are welcome to sign up as well. That we'll send out usually weekly. We don't like to inundate people with text messages. I know I hate getting lots of text messages, but we provide resources and information, and you can sign up for that. by texting 211-KNOW, KNOW. That's 211-KNOW to the number 898-211. So texting 211-KNOW or 211-NO to 898-211, that'll add you to our text message chain, and we'll provide you information and resources there. And you're always welcome to call the Alabama Securities Commission directly. We have 2 live people. We will not send you to an automated feature. You won't get a robot, but you'll get actually us on the phone. So we want to be a resource to you. And if you ever have questions or are concerned that you might be a victim of a scam, give us a call.
That's perfect. I love the 211 No advice. That's a great resource for a lot of folks, and it has a lot of great information. We talked earlier about the old rhetoric was if there's a typo, a misspelling, if the fonts are weird, then it's probably a scam. And the new way of thinking has to do with if it's too perfect, if it's too polished. I love that you shared that. What are some other warning signs that somebody may be dealing with a scam or a fraudulent investment?
So other warning signs are requests for money. You receive bills. We all get bills, unfortunately, from the usual suspects, your utilities, your mortgage, and those are usually regular payments, credit card payments if you have them. But recently we've received reports that fraudsters are now able to know just from data on cell phones and different things. And I don't want to scare everybody, but we've had reports come in, many of them, where people have reported they've been to a physician's office lately and they've received a bill that you would expect. But fraudsters sometimes are able to send bills that look so realistic. So words of caution, 2 years ago would have been, hey, if it's an unusual request for money, to use caution. But now sometimes these payment requests that come in are almost expected from different service providers. So if it's not a usual, routine payment, and that you've got the actual correspondence from that institution, pick up the phone and call the service provider directly. For example, I received a bill recently for a subscription, and I was expecting the bill, but it was a fraudulent invoice. So I called directly, and they said, no, we haven't billed you yet. So unusual, red flags, I would say, any form or demand for payment that's outside of the absolute, normal living expenses, where you've had relationships with these providers before, and this is what their correspondence includes, or an email. Fraudsters are now taking email addresses that appear legitimate. For example, let's just use Netflix. Netflix.com, sends you a bill. They'll change the email address ever so slightly. And for many people who are living fast-paced lifestyles or in a hurry or used to regular programming, aren't paying that close of attention. And so they're able to literally duplicate that exact website and the exact, format of Netflix normal emails. And so the advice now is just to be very careful. Use, the utmost patience and due diligence before making payments. Pick up the phone, call the service providers directly, call the person making the request directly. If you're using payment services like PayPal, Cash App, Venmo, we've received reports of fraudulent invoices coming in through there. So make sure if you've agreed to send a friend or family money, excuse me, that you verify that that's their actual user account. Also, caution when it comes to investments. Do not invest with anyone that you have not verified that they're a licensed professional. We have a phenomenal group of investment professionals in this state. Definitely make a call to the Alabama Securities Commission first. Make sure, one, that they have a license and they're actually lawfully providing services, and two, that they're not on our fraud list. We do not want you doing business with one of the criminals that we have in our database. So always exercise the utmost due diligence. You can't be careful enough now in this fast-paced world that we live in, and we all get in a hurry. I know, you know, it's easy just to breeze through routine payments or correspondence or communications, but slow down and pay very close attention, especially when there's a request for money.
Perfect. So the advice is when it comes to money, take a breath, take a minute, slow down, and do some investigating and some digging. And then also maybe set some of your payments up on auto draft with your bank so that you know, okay, Netflix is getting their money. Um,
Setting up payments, excuse me, just a second, come on. I'll add also about identity theft too. So um, if you want to tee that one up, request for money and or personal information. I want to mention that.
I'm super interested in learning more about identity theft. We used to hear that all the time. It's a big buzzword. Is that still happening? How does it happen? Who does it affect? And how could you know if you're a target of identity theft?
So I mentioned requests for money are often a red flag. We're also still continuing to see cases that involve identity theft. Of course, the ultimate goal is to eventually get your money, but fraudsters are setting up fake applications on your phone and fake websites, all intended to cause you to type in and provide personal information about yourself, like your name, address, social security number, a date of birth, certain password information. We've received complaints that indicate there are fake websites that literally look just like the legitimate service provider website. We've had brokerage firms that have been ripped off or cloned. We've had local cable service providers. And so you think you're going into the website that you've known and trusted for years and entering your usual username and password when fraudsters have created these sites that are cloned and they look just like the others, but for some unusual and suspicious characters in the URL. So identity theft is still alive and well. Many fraudsters don't always come right out the gate and ask for money. They may try to collect your personal information first, and then down the road, what they're ultimately seeking is, of course, money. But we, again, exercise incredible due diligence, caution, be very cautious when providing your information online or through your cell phone, and make sure that you're actually dealing with a website that you've trusted and verified.
Perfect. What about skimmers? I used to hear a lot about those on, at the gas pump or at your ATM. Are we still seeing a lot of that happening?
We skimmers are still showing up in reports. I think the technology advancements have allowed retailers to provide more security when it comes to your gas pump. But again, before you swipe that card, make sure there is the device. Usually with the gas station, it'll make it clear, that this is absolutely affixed to this pump and a safe one. But if you see a device that just doesn't look right, move on to another gas station or walk in and pay with cash.
That's perfect advice. Elder financial abuse is always a hot topic. What are some things that close friends and family members can look for to protect their loved one?
So close friends and family members can help identify financial exploitation of their loved ones or, friends and family in the community by paying attention. Again, we've discussed that, 2 years ago, the red flags would have been, romance type scams or the Nigerian prince or IRS, crazy things and lotteries. But now so many of our cases involve victims that have complete and total mental capacity. They just lack financial capacity. And so many of these victims, they're working, they're out in the workforce, still working either part-time or continuing on beyond retirement or re-entering. And it would be hard to know that they've been victimized by fraudster in a financial exploitation type situation, except somebody that was able to notice unusual patterns in their financial history brought the cases to light. So I don't want to caution everybody to go get in everyone's financial business, but if you're a family member or a close friend that's helping some of our seniors manage their finances, pay close attention to unusual transactions. And our banks and our credit unions and our brokerage firms and our advisors, all of our financial institutions have been incredibly powerful partners in helping combat exploitation. They're in a position to be able to see very unusual withdrawals, large withdrawals, uncharacteristic activity in a financial account. So they've reported thousands of cases to us, and we've been able to stop millions of dollars from leaving the hands and accounts of our seniors because of them. Many of our cases still do involve, caretakers that have taken advantage of clients. Family members are not immune as suspects sometimes. I don't want people walking away, going to their houses and accusing their family, of trying to steal from them. But once in a while, we still get a sibling or, son or daughter, a sister or brother that is taking advantage of a loved one. Friends and family that are paying attention, if they hear, a potential victim maybe make an unusual statement about finances, or a new friend that may have, become a fast friend to someone and they're helping them with a project. We've had cases that have involved suspects that have developed quick relationships, wormed their way into the confidences of some of our senior victims and then asked for money for projects or for home improvement. It's really hard to know, though, in many of these cases, if people are being financially exploited because of the ways and the styles, of frauds now. But having conversations with those you love and ask them, if you're close to them, say, hey, how are you doing? Any new, crazy investment opportunities, or, what are you spending money on these days? I don't know. If they go out and buy a new house, we had a case that involved a victim that was purchasing real estate for someone. And so the red flags sometimes can be hard to detect, but make sure you're checking in on your seniors in your community and in your families. We're charged to do that. And if you had questions about a situation, you can always contact us. We have a financial exploitation division. So we have people that are dedicated just to this disgusting crime of financial exploitation. We have victim service officers, law enforcement, and attorneys that specialize in these type cases. And so please use us as a resource. We want to help.
Wow. And I'll just add, check your beneficiaries, because those can be changed and it may not be found out until it's all said and done. If somebody thinks that they've been targeted for a scam, what should they do immediately? What's the immediate first step?
So if you think you've been targeted by a fraudster, contact the financial institution first. Like, for example, if you say, oh my gosh, I think I just clicked on this by accident and, authorized a charge that I shouldn't, contact that financial provider immediately. Because sometimes, not always, and it's certainly most of the time it's not, the institutions are able to stop the transaction. After that, always check your other financial accounts, make sure there's no unusual activity. If you suspect that information has been breached from other accounts, contact those institutions immediately. You may need to change the account or close the account and open another one. They can oftentimes organizations can put a fraud alert on your accounts. So I would recommend asking if that's an option. And then check your credit reports regularly. I check mine once or twice a month just to make sure there are no unusual transactions, especially if you think your information has been compromised. And you can also put a credit freeze on your credit reports. If you're not planning on buying, a house or a car in the near future, I recommend putting a credit freeze on your reports. And that way, fraudsters can't access your credit for any other purchases. Monitor your accounts, check your reports, and contact local law enforcement. You can file a report with the Alabama Securities Commission. I know identity theft and these types of investment frauds and schemes, 9 times out of 10, the money is gone and the chances of recovery are very slim because of the speed of movement of money. Fraudsters will pull out cash or convert to cryptocurrency immediately. But sometimes we're able to stop the transaction, reverse it. Of course, the focus is on further protecting your information going forward. There's a useful website, identitytheft.gov, will provide a checklist for you to walk through. And we've included some information about identitytheft.gov in our newsletters as well. But to continue to monitor financial accounts, look for suspicious activity. It's very difficult to unwind a breach or data breach or, being victimized by a fraudster. So once your information's out there, they're able to use it in different ways. But by monitoring, you can prevent further losses. And always hear this: change your passwords on your accounts, especially those that you think would have been breached by any activity where you've been scammed. And you're always free to contact the Alabama Securities Commission if you need help or advice there.
Perfect. Are there certain times of year or certain situations when scams tend to increase? Is there a seasonality to it?
There sometimes is a season for fraudsters, but it depends and is dictated by current events. For example, during COVID, fraudsters came out of the woodworks and the frauds were proliferate. They found so many different avenues for fraud, from testing, where they would set up tents and wear hazmat suits and offer free COVID testing. And of course, when you went in for the testing, they were taking your personal information so that they could provide you the results down the road. From the testing to developing vaccines, there were scams that involved investment opportunities and the biological sciences. There were frauds that involved, mask production and manufacturing of different accessories and things related to COVID, tools, medical devices. It was incredible. Our office actually did a takedown of the fraudulent COVID sites, and we took down hundreds of fraudulent websites that were related to COVID-19. Here recently, of course, international turmoil has caused an uptick in some of the investment schemes. But so they ebb and flow around current events very often. And of course, again, I mentioned the traffic tickets earlier. When summer is coming and people are on the road, the number of scams that involve speeding tickets or camera traffic tickets or toll booths increase. We see certainly an increase in those. But there's always an opportunity for a fraudster to get out there and start targeting more victims. But pay special attention to the headlines. And if you're getting some weird correspondence after a big announcement, use caution, and it may likely be a scam.
Perfect. Well, last question. If there's one thing you wish more people across Alabama understood about financial fraud, health and wellness, how those correlate, what would it be?
If there's one thing I wish people would do to prevent financial fraud, hold on, let me back up. Let's start that one again. So financial health and well-being not only influences your finance, it also affects your physical and mental health. We've seen in many cases victims of financial fraud suffer mental, emotional, and physical impacts because of the losses. Financial health is not about accumulating a massive amount of wealth. It's about having control and comfort with your finances. I think Thomas Jefferson said that you shouldn't go out and spend it if you haven't earned it. And I know that's difficult. I had massive student loans, and I'm thankful that I was able to take out loans to go to college. But after, I was extremely conservative about expenses, and I wanted to pay off those loans, hoping that I would stay in the workforce long enough to do that. But when you're earning money, there's a 50-30-20 rule. Put 50% aside for your needs, and 30% sometimes for your wants, and 20% for savings and paying off debt. Sometimes I recommend swapping those. But having a level of comfort. And I know it's not always easy. There's inflation, and it's a very challenging time right now to be able to save and pay off debt. But if there are ways that you can cut out even small expenses, it will pay dividends in helping build your, financial safety net and give you a less stressful life. The Alabama Securities Commission has budgeting tools on our website under the She Can program. It's not just for ladies. Some of my guy friends have used them as well, but they're interactive and it'll walk you through preparing a budget. So I always recommend everyone preparing a budget and just put it pen to paper. It can be very difficult to look at those numbers, but if there are ways that you can cut out to allow you, a better financial health, we take care of ourselves physically. You need to take care of your financial health and well-being. It will be worth it, I can promise you. And slow down. That's not easy. I know we have jobs, we have lives, we have families, we have so much going on. But, the first instance that you become a victim of fraud, you're dealing with the repercussions of that for years to come. I had a victim tell me recently it's been 8 years and she is still dealing with the losses of the earlier fraud. So it's worth it to take a few extra minutes to verify before you send money or personal information. And those are my final words of encouragement. Slow down, have a financial plan that will bring you comfort and peace. And we want everybody in Alabama to prosper. And don't be too prideful or, don't feel like it's shameful or embarrassing to ask a trusted friend or contact, a trusted resource, the Alabama Securities Commission, to ask for help and advice.
Well, Director Sin, thank you so much for sharing today. This has been great information, super useful. Will you repeat how they can find your website? Because you've already mentioned so many great resources, the newsletter about fraud, identitytheft.gov, and the She Can tools, the budgeting tools, 2110. You've mentioned so many amazing things. If somebody wants to know more, repeat your website for us.
For more information, check out our website. It's at www.asc, as in Alabama Securities Commission, but abbreviated, .alabama spelled out .gov. That's www.asc.alabama.gov. And there you'll find all the resources we talked about, links to the budgeting tools, to our newsletter. We post scam updates about what's going on, and we have our phone number, our 1-800 number, and local number to contact us directly if you have questions. And also, we have a toll-free number and let's say it again. Hold on. So we have a toll-free number. I was going to share that, but I can't even remember it. 1-800-222. Hold on. I should know this. Just a second, and I'll do that last part. 18 years, and I still don't know our 1-800 number.
There's no way I would have it memorized, so.
That's so stupid. I should have it memorized.
I disagree. How can you remember all that?
Stupid, guys. Yeah.
Something's got to give, girl.
Yeah. I talk to Carolyn Hutchins, anyway, Troy Public Radio once a month, and she always asks me for the number. I write it out. It's just so dumb. Here we go. So they can call us directly. 1253. I'll never forget it. Ask me this next time. All right. For more information about the newsletter that we discussed, up-to-date information about scams, our budgeting tools, and just pamphlets that we have saved electronically you can access, check out our website. It's www.asc, as in Alabama Securities Commission, but abbreviated, .alabama.gov. That's www.asc.alabama.gov. And you'll also have access to our contact information. I'll say it's on the main page. And you can call us anytime to get live help at 1-800-222-1253. That's 1-800-222-1253.
I love it. Thank you so much. We've got to be healthy overall. And that's what we're here for, to talk about ways to facilitate health in every aspect. So I love learning about scams and financial fraud. I appreciate your time today. And if you watching this want more information about Pulse, or you want to view more stories like this one, you can go to alabamapulsemagazine.com. And if you have any thoughts on topics we should cover or people we should interview, let us know in the comments. Thank you for watching.